This is the YouTube conversation today with Paul Giamatti, who plays the title role in Barney's Version, one of the films having its world premiere at the Toronto International Film Festival. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Before we get to Barney's Version, I wanted to ask you about something that I saw, I guess around 6 years ago. I was in LAX and coming back to Toronto. You were in the lounge next to me, in the gate next to me. Yeah. You had a novel. You were sitting reading, very unassuming, sort of, reading a little paperback novel, and you had a bag with you, and in that bag, the bag was sort of suspiciously shaped like a SAG award. And it looked to me like you had just taken your SAG award, thrown it in this bag, zipped it up.
Probably. Well, how else are you going to get that thing back?
Well, you could pack it in your checked luggage.
I suppose that's true. Yeah, no, I probably didn't have much room in there. Those things are heavy, too. That's interesting. I probably did,
well,
yes.
See, the reason I ask you about this is because I thought, at that time, I'm seeing something that is emblematic of your attitude towards, sort of fame and success and career. Sideways had come out. You were winning awards all over the place, but you're not sitting in the first class lounge upstairs, drinking an espresso, having people bringing you the New York Times. Right, yeah. You're down with everybody else. I mean, do you still, give me your idea of fame and sort of what it means to you, and is it important to you?
Well, I mean, you can't avoid when you're exposed as much as you are in movies. It's an inevitable side effect of it, I guess. So it is would I prefer to be anonymous all the time? Yeah, I would be, because I like it, and I also feel like it's good as an actor. It's a precious thing as an actor. It goes away. You have to kind of just go with it, I suppose. It's a bonus, a lot of those things, and those awards are really nice, but they're a bonus. I don't know, at a certain point, it may be uncomfortable at first, but at a certain point, I kind of tried to cop an attitude of saying, well, these people come up and talk to me, and so it's actually an opportunity. I don't have the anonymity, but I can observe these people now, and it's like, and then people are nice about it, and it's flattering, it's nice. There's nothing you can do about it, really. I mean, to fight against it. But I prefer sitting down by the gate because I'm nervous I'm going to miss the plane, first of all. But second of all, I get uncomfortable in those places, It just feels funny. There's no more, like, classist place on earth than an airport.
Oh, absolutely. And it's gotten worse and worse and worse.
It's getting worse and worse.
It's like you're elite or you're super elite, maybe now ultra elite or something.
Emperor level elite. I mean, it makes me a little uncomfortable, so,
Well, you live in New York still?
Yeah.
Right, and Amy Smart recently described New York as the best acting school there is, because you get to observe every form of human existence in a 2-block walk.
Absolutely.
Do you find that still?
Yes, I do still find it. At one time in sort of the 80s and earlier than that, but I was kind of too young. For a long time, New York's changed a lot. The world's changed a lot. I don't know what's happened to a lot of the people that you used to see that you were absolutely jaw-dropping. You would see things that weren't just fascinating to study. You would see things that you could not believe you were seeing. I mean, people in a condition that you couldn't believe you were seeing. People behaving in ways you couldn't believe. That doesn't quite happen quite as much in New York anymore. It's a little bit less insane than it used to be. But still, yeah, that's absolutely true. It's a really good way to put it.
Right. Let's look at Barney's Version. An iconic book. In Canada. Were you aware of the sort of importance that, I mean, there's probably every second house in Montreal for sure has a copy of this book on a shelf, and probably across the country. Were you aware of the sort of enormity of an adaptation of this?
No. I mean, I was aware of the book. I was aware of him, Mordecai Richler, and I understood that he was this figure of of eminence, and I don't know that I got that it was so deeply central in some way to a certain aspect of the culture. No, I didn't. And so
that may be a good thing, though.
I think it was, and I think that even when I did, I mean, there's a pressure of it because you're an outsider to it, but also that took some of the pressure off too. I could observe it and be objective about it, but it isn't my culture and it isn't central to mine. So I was able, I hope, to back away from it a little bit and not be too, but I was more worried about it than most things I've ever done because of that.
Let's talk a little bit about Barney himself. He's a guy who kind of lives on extremes, I think. And I think as an actor, the challenge has to be to keep him compelling, to be true to the character, this guy who lives in extremes. But the audience has to be on side with him on some level.
Yeah.
Otherwise, why would you want to watch him for 2+
totally,
hours?
yeah.
Tell me the challenge of finding a balance of all those kind of elements.
Well, you know, in the book, it's this constant first-person narration by this very bitter and difficult old man. So he's relentless in the book, which becomes funny about it. The extremity of that relentless voice that goes on. So inevitably, what was nice is you took it out of it and made it this sort of more straight narrative. You did lose some of that. So it was made a little bit easier for me that he wasn't this constant barrage of this guy's incredibly outraged, bitter voice all the time. And so you had that, first of all, which happened. And then, you know, the thing was really well written. And that's rare, and all you have to do is follow the steps of it to some extent. So I knew how he was supposed to be unpleasant and difficult, but they layered in enough of that stuff. They really put all that stuff in there. I wasn't consciously thinking, oh, I have to be more sympathetic now. It just was in the whole. Part of the great thing of seeing 30 years of this person's life, you see these cuts from me young to old. And I think that automatically gives you a sense of sympathy for a human being. Is that you go like, oh my God, this man's, look, he got old. We're all going to get old. And so that the stretch of time element of it automatically gives you some sympathy for somebody. You're watching somebody get old and die, basically. And
absolutely. I mean, I have to say, though, in the very first scene, I was pretty much on side with him when he offers nude pictures of his ex-wife to her new husband and says, so you can see what she looked like in her prime.
Well, that's good, and people laugh at that, and it is good. So right off the bat, you know this guy. And the first thing you see in this movie is a glass of scotch and a cigar, and you hear this guy say that. And it's like, so you get it, and hopefully, even right there, you get what this guy's going to be.
Is Bernie's version the kind of film, and this has been coming up a little bit at the film festival, where we have American stars coming in and making what are Canadian films, right? Zach Braff, Josh Lucas, Kat Dennings, you're in headlining Bernie's version. Is Bernie's version the kind of film that maybe isn't getting made in the U.S. right now? This sort of character-driven, mid-level, sort of mid-budget?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of truth to that, actually. Sure, yes. I mean, there was definitely. I've done a bunch of things recently that weren't just Canadian. I've done more sort of British films and British-German films and things like that. And I think there may be some real truth to that.
Yeah, it would be
that they want to hire. Americans are more willing to go there because of that work, and they're more willing to hire us because of that work. But it does give you a certain. I mean, with something like this is so. You know, the other movies I've done aren't necessarily rooted in those cultures. This is so Canadian that it was like, they're hiring an American to do this. I better not screw it up.
Especially if you're starring in scenes opposite Paul Gross dressed in a Mountie suit.
Right. And I kept saying to people, this for Canadians is like the biggest thing in the movie is Paul Gross in a Canadian Mountie outfit. I was like, you know, for Canadians, that's fantastic and funny, and so.
Well, the Canadian audience, we're out of time. The Canadian audience that I saw it with roared when Denny
That too was hilarious.
That no one else
and he's very funny as a maitre d' too. So, all right.
Paul, thank you
Thanks,
so much.
man. Okay.